I'm Emma, a 34-year-old photographer, recently turned full-time mom. My world, once framed through the lens of my camera, now revolved around the tiny bundle of joy sleeping in the next room. But beneath the surface of this newfound motherhood, something was amiss. The house, our once beloved sanctuary, felt like a hollow echo of its former self. The grandeur of the terrace, where Alex and I used to share dreams over morning coffees, now seemed to mock me with its emptiness. The garden, meticulously cared for, stood silent, a witness to the growing void between us. I still remember the day I came home from the hospital, our baby boy cradled in my arms. I expected warmth, tears of joy, something, anything. Instead, Alex greeted us with a glance that barely hid his indifference. "Honey, aren't you excited? Say hello to your son," I nudged, trying to mask the tremble in my voice. Alex barely glanced at our baby, his eyes void of the spark I used to know. "Yeah, he's great. I'm just not good with babies, you know? Give me time." It wasn't just the baby. The Alex I knew, the one I fell in love with, seemed to have vanished. Each day he'd return from work, his face a mask of fatigue, his words sparse and hollow. One evening, as I rocked our son to sleep, the silence became unbearable. "Alex, we need to talk. This distance between us, it's not just about the baby, is it?" He sighed, his attention fixed on some distant point beyond the walls of our once happy home. "Emma, don't start. I'm tired, work's a mess. I don't need another lecture." I felt a pang of anger, mixed with a dose of fear. "Lecture? Alex, look at us, at our family. You're a father now, and I feel like I'm doing this all alone." He finally looked at me, his eyes cold, distant. "What do you want from me, Emma? A parade? I'm here, I'm working, I'm providing. What more do you want?" The words stung, each one a reminder of the chasm that had formed between us. "I want you, Alex. The man I married. The man who promised to be by my side, not a shadow that haunts this house." He stood up, his frustration evident. "I can't deal with this right now. I'm not the enemy, Emma. Maybe you're the one who changed." Life after bringing our son home wasn't the blissful picture I had painted in my mind. It was more like a puzzle, with pieces that didn't quite fit. Alex, the man I vowed to spend my life with, was the piece that had shifted the most. His late nights at work were becoming a pattern, a repeat of a past I thought we had buried deep. One chilly evening, as I cradled our son, trying to soothe his fussiness, the sound of the front door creaking open broke the monotony. Alex walked in, his face drawn, his eyes avoiding mine. "Back late again, huh?" I said, my voice laced with a tiredness that went beyond physical. Alex just grunted, tossing his keys on the table. "Work's a mess. You wouldn't understand." The sharpness in his tone stung. "Wouldn't understand?" "Alex, I'd been there. Remember the late nights in the studio, the deadlines? I get it. But this is different. You're different." He scoffed, loosening his tie with a jerk. "Different how? Because I'm trying to provide for this family? Because I'm not jumping with joy every minute?" I bit back the retort that sprung to my lips, choosing my words carefully. "It's not about providing, Alex. It's about being present. You barely look at your son, you barely talk to me. It's like you're here, but you're not." He looked at me then, his eyes hard. "What do you want from me, Emma? I'm working my ass off every day, coming home to this." He gestured vaguely around the room. "And all I get is complaints." The hurt was raw, real. "Complaints? Is that what you think this is?" "Alex, I'm worried. About us, about you. I see how you avoid us, how you're pulling away. It reminds me of before." The air turned icy. Alex's face tightened, his jaw clenching. Before? You're bringing that up again? I thought we were past that, Emma. I thought we agreed to leave that behind. I held our son closer, his small warmth a stark contrast to the chill between us. Leave it behind? How can I, Alex, when you're acting just like you did back then? Late nights, the distance, the silence. It's all too familiar. He threw up his hands, frustration radiating off him. So, what, you think I'm cheating again? Is that it? You think I haven't changed? The question hung in the air, heavy and unwelcome. I don't know, Alex. I don't know what to think. All I know is that something's not right. And it's tearing us apart. He ran a hand through his hair, a telltale sign of his stress. Tearing us apart? Maybe it's your constant accusations, ever thought of that? Maybe it's you who's not letting us move forward. And just like that, he left the room, leaving behind a silence that was louder than any argument. It was just another mundane afternoon when my phone buzzed with a notification. A message from someone I didn't recognize. Curiosity piqued, I opened it, not knowing that those few lines were about to shatter the fragile piece of my world. Emma, you don't know me, but I think it's time you did. Alex has been living a double life, and I'm the other woman. My heart stopped. This had to be some sick joke. But then I saw the pictures attached. Alex, not just with this woman, but with children, 3 of them, each bearing a resemblance to the man I called my husband. I was still reeling from the shock when Alex walked in, earlier than usual. Back so soon? I managed to say, my voice a mere whisper. He shrugged, clearly oblivious to the storm raging inside me. Yeah, things were slow at the office. I held up my phone, the picture of him with that woman and the children filling the screen. Slow, huh? Is this how you kill time? His face went white, the mask of indifference crumbling in an instant. Emma, what? Where did you get this? The words felt heavy, each one a stone sinking in the pit of my stomach. From her, Alex. Your other woman. He tried to grab the phone, but I pulled away, my eyes never leaving his. So, it's true then? The late nights, the distance. It wasn't just work. It was them. Alex sank into a chair, his facade shattered. Emma, listen, it's not what you think. I laughed, a hollow sound that echoed in the silence. Not what I think. Alex, the pictures don't lie. You have a whole other family. How long? How long have you been lying to me? He buried his face in his hands, a defeated figure. A few years. It started small, I didn't mean for it to go this far. A few years. The words hung in the air, a testament to the lie my life had become. And the children, Alex? Are they yours? He didn't answer, but he didn't need to. The truth was right there, in the silence, in the photos, in the years of deceit. You need to leave, Alex. Now, I said, my voice steady despite the chaos inside. And with that, he left, the sound of the closing door marking the end of our story. I sat there, alone, holding our son, the only real thing in the mess that was my life. Just when the dust seemed to be settling, life decided to throw another curveball. I was in the middle of a feeding session with my son when the doorbell rang, slicing through the quiet of the afternoon. Expecting maybe a delivery or a neighbor, I was completely taken aback to see Alex, looking sheepish, and a woman I recognized from the photos, the other woman, standing boldly in my doorway. Before I could even react, she pushed past me into the house. Her eyes roamed around, taking in every detail of the home I had put my heart into. This is quite the place you've got here, Emma. Cozy and spacious. Perfect for a family, don't you think, Alex? She said, her voice dripping with a mix of mockery and entitlement. Alex didn't meet my gaze, his shame evident, but his voice silent. I clenched my jaw, trying to keep my composure in the face of this intrusion. And what family would that be? Because the last time I checked, this was my home, I retorted, standing protectively in front of my son's crib. She smirked, a calculated glint in her eye. Well, the family Alex should have been with all along. Me and our 3 kids. You see, we need this house more than you do. A big, beautiful house for a big family. You understand, right? The audacity of her words struck a nerve. I was fuming, each word from her mouth fueling my anger. Understand? I understand perfectly. You're delusional if you think you can just barge in here and lay claim to what's mine. Alex has no right to this house, and neither do you. Alex finally spoke, his voice barely a whisper. Emma, maybe we should discuss this. Discuss? I snapped, my patience wearing thin. You think after everything, we're just going to sit down and have a chat about you handing over my house to your mistress and your other children? The woman paced around, her eyes scanning the room like a hawk. Look, Emma, it's simple. You've got 1 kid, a small apartment will do. We've got 3, we need the space. It's only fair. Fair? The word echoed in my mind, a cruel joke in the face of everything that was happening. Fair? You want to talk about fair? There's nothing fair about betrayal, about lies, about breaking a family. You have no idea what fair is. She turned to Alex, seeking affirmation. Tell her, Alex. Tell her we'll be moving in. She's got a week to clear out. Alex avoided my gaze, his shoulders slumped, the picture of defeat and cowardice. Emma, I don't know what to say. The standoff was tense, the air thick with unsaid words and unspoken threats. But as they left, the woman throwing a spiteful glance over her shoulder and Alex not even daring to look back, I knew that this was far from over. After the door slammed shut behind Alex and his mistress, I was left standing in the silence of my home, my mind racing. The nerve of them, coming into my house, threatening to take everything I held dear. But as the initial shock subsided, a plan began to form. It was time to reveal the truth, time to claim what was rightfully mine. The doorbell rang, its chime echoing like the start of a showdown. There they stood, Alex looking more defeated than ever, and his mistress, her arrogance undiminished. Time's up, Emma. We're here to move in. Did you pack your stuff? She demanded, her eyes gleaming with triumph. I stood in the doorway, my stance firm. Actually, I didn't pack. And you're not moving in. This house is mine, and I have the documents to prove it. The woman's face faltered, confusion mixing with her anger. What are you talking about? This is Alex's house too. We have rights. I couldn't help but smirk, the tables finally turning. No, you see, that's where you're wrong. This house was a gift from my parents to me. Alex's name isn't on any of the documents. He has no claim over this property. Alex shifted uncomfortably, avoiding my gaze. Emma, I thought we could work something out. Work something out? After you cheated, lied, and then tried to kick me and your son out of our home? I don't think so, Alex. The mistress interjected, her voice shrill with panic. This can't be happening. You're lying. Alex, tell her she's lying. But Alex remained silent, his eyes downcast, the truth of the situation finally dawning on him. It's not a lie, I said, my voice steady. This house is mine, and you have no legal right to be here. So, I suggest you leave before I call the police. The woman's eyes darted to Alex, seeking confirmation or maybe denial. But Alex stood silent, his head hung low, the truth too heavy to bear. But we have a family, we need this house. You can't just throw us out, she protested, her voice tinged with desperation. The only thing I'm throwing out is the lies, I countered. And while we're at it, let's talk about Alex's job, shall we? He's not the high-flying executive you think he is. He's a clerk, a simple office worker. Your dreams of a lavish life in this house are just that, dreams. The revelation hit her like a physical blow, her face contorting with rage and disbelief. A clerk? You're lying. Alex, tell her she's lying. Alex, however, remained silent, his shoulders slumped in defeat. The charade was over, the truth laid bare for all to see. You've been living in a fantasy, fed by Alex's lies. But it ends now, I declared, my voice firm. You have no place here. It's time for you both to leave. The confrontation was intense, the air thick with tension and unsaid words. But as they turned to leave, the mistress's parting glance was filled with venom and vows of revenge. This isn't the end, Emma. You'll regret this, she hissed, her dreams shattered by the harsh light of truth. It was a crisp morning, the kind that usually promised a peaceful start, but peace was a luxury I could no longer afford. The sound of the doorbell shattered the calm like a rock through a window. As I opened the door, my heart sank. There she stood, Alex's mistress, her face twisted into a smirk, her children huddled behind her. You've got some nerve, showing up here again, I said, my voice steady, despite the turmoil inside. The mistress didn't falter. I've got every right, Emma. These kids, she gestured to the innocent faces behind her. They deserve a proper home. Your home. I couldn't help but scoff. Deserve? The only thing you deserve is a reality check. This is my house, and you're not welcome here. Her smirk widened, her voice growing louder. Oh, I'm not welcome? We'll see about that. You think you can just sit in this big, fancy house all alone with your baby while my kids suffer? You're more heartless than I thought. Her words, sharp and accusing, were meant to wound, and they did. But I wasn't about to let her see that. Heartless? I'm not the one tearing families apart, disrupting lives. You did that all on your own. The neighbors, drawn by her shrill voice, had begun to gather, their whispers like a chorus in the background. She relished the audience, her theatrics reaching new heights. Look at this, folks. Emma here thinks she's too good to share. Thinks this palace is only for her and her baby. What about my children? Don't they deserve a home too? I clenched my fists, fighting the urge to slam the door in her face. Your children deserve better, that's for sure. Better than a mother who uses them as pawns in her twisted games. She stepped closer, her eyes flashing with anger. You think you can judge me, Emma? You, who had everything handed to her on a silver platter. My kids have had to fight for every little thing in their lives. And now, you want to deny them a roof over their heads? I shook my head, disbelief and anger swirling inside me. I'm not denying them anything. Their father, the man you stole from me, he's the one you should be looking at. He's the one who's failed them, and you. The mistress's face reddened, her mouth opening and closing like a fish out of water. Alex promised us a better life. He promised we'd have this house. Are you going to stand there and tell me those were all lies? Her words hung heavy in the air, a painful reminder of Alex's betrayal. Promises from Alex aren't worth much these days, it seems. But one thing's for sure, this house isn't part of his empty promises. It's mine, and you have no claim to it. She bristled, her composure slipping. I'm not leaving, Emma. Not until you do right by these kids. I'll camp out here if I have to. I'll make sure everyone knows what kind of cold-hearted witch lives in this mansion. I stared at her, the absurdity of the situation hitting me full force. You're going to camp out? On my property? I don't think so. This is your last warning. Leave now, or I'll call the police. Her eyes darted around, the gathered neighbors serving as her audience. But the resolve in my voice must have hit a nerve. She gathered her children, her parting shot a venomous glare. This isn't over, Emma. You think you've won, but you've just started a war. The drama of the previous week still hung heavy in my home, like a cloud refusing to move on. I was Emma, a woman who thought she had seen it all, until the doorbell rang again, bringing a chapter one thought I had closed. There he was, Alex, standing on my doorstep, his face a mixture of regret and desperation. The sight of him, after everything, sparked a fury I hadn't known I possessed. "What are you doing here, Alex? Haven't you done enough?" I spat, my words sharp and unforgiving. He looked down, his hands fidgeting nervously. "Emma, I need to talk to you. It's important." I crossed my arms, my stance unyielding. "Talk? After you tried to take my home, after all the lies? You must be kidding." He swallowed hard, a man grasping at straws. "Please, Emma. I made a mistake, a huge mistake. I see that now. I was wrong, so wrong." I couldn't help but laugh, the sound bitter and hollow. "A mistake? Is that what you call it? You destroyed our family, Alex. You chose her, chose that life. And now you're here, what, asking for forgiveness?" His eyes met mine, a glimmer of the man I once knew flickering in their depths. "Not just forgiveness, Emma. I want to come back. I want to make things right. For you, for our son." The audacity of his request left me speechless. How could he stand there, asking for a second chance as if he could erase the past with a few words? "You want to come back? After everything? You think you can just walk back into our lives like nothing happened?" I asked, my voice rising with every word. He nodded, a desperate man clinging to a lifeline. "Yes, Emma. I know I don't deserve it, but I want to try. I'll do anything, everything to make it up to you, to our son." I shook my head, the finality of my decision clear in my mind. "It's too late, Alex. You made your choice, and now you have to live with it. We are moving on, without you." His shoulders slumped, defeat etched into every line of his face. "Emma, please. Don't do this. Think of our son. He needs his father." I felt a pang in my heart, for the life we could have had, for the family that was broken beyond repair. He needed his father, and where were you? With her, with them. You're not the man we need, Alex. It's time you realized that. He stood there for a moment longer, a man lost in the ruins of his own making. Then, without another word, he turned and walked away, his figure disappearing into the night. The final pieces of my old life had fallen away, leaving space for something new, something mine. The divorce papers were signed, and Alex was now just a person from my past, a shadow that no longer darkened my door. He was ordered to pay alimony for our son, a small justice in the grand scheme of things. Sitting in my quiet living room, I reflected on the tumultuous journey. The phone buzzed, breaking the silence. It was Lisa, her voice carrying the latest gossip. "Hey, Emma, you won't believe this. Alex and his mistress are crammed into a tiny apartment. Word is, they do nothing but fight, day in and day out." I couldn't help but feel a twinge of vindication. "Well, can't say I'm surprised. You reap what you sow, right?" Lisa chuckled. "True that. How are you holding up, though? All this must be tough." I took a sip of my tea, its warmth comforting. "It's been a ride, Lisa. But, I'm getting there. Each day feels a bit lighter, a bit more mine. You're the strongest person I know, Emma. And hey, if you need anything, I'm just a call away, alright?" Her words were a balm, soothing the lingering sting of the past. "Thanks, Lisa. I really appreciate it." The conversation drifted to lighter topics, the normalcy a welcome change. After hanging up, I gazed around the room. This was my space, my sanctuary. The battles fought within these walls had left scars, but they were healing, turning into stories of strength and resilience. I picked up my camera, an old friend I had neglected. The weight of it in my hands felt right. I snapped a few pictures of the room, of my son's toys, of the life that was slowly piecing itself back together. Each click of the shutter was a declaration, a statement that while the past was a part of me, it didn't define me. As I put my son to bed that night, his tiny hand clutching my finger, I whispered promises of a future bright and unburdened. Outside, the stars twinkled, a vast canvas of possibilities stretching out before us. Alex and his mistress were just a chapter closed, a lesson learned. Our story, the one that truly mattered, was just beginning, and it was going to be a beautiful one.